Hello, my name is Debbie. I'm Owlandgator Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 85. Today is Thursday, May 28th, 2026. This is a video mainly about cross stitch, sometimes about what I'm watching and reading, and a little bit of life. I hope everyone has had a good May. I'm coming to you a few days before the end of May because I have plans over the weekend and I wanted to be sure to get this in and show you all of my new starts. So I'm going to jump in and start showing you a lot of my stitching, and we'll get to the other stuff at the end. So I mention this in every video, but I play a number of stitching games. I've reduced a lot of the games over the past couple of years as I've really tried to, I was spending more time posting than I was actually stitching. And so I've really reduced the number, but I still enjoy having sort of feeling part of a community and having something that incentivizes my stitching. And when I mean incentivize, like just makes me stitch a little bit more. Certainly, stitching is a lot better than just scrolling on your phone. So I use my games to help motivate me. And the game that really motivated, well, two games I really focused on this month. One was SPRINGO, which is Seazook Stitch and Robin Birdseye Stitches, and that's a Facebook game. And I will talk a little bit about SPRINGO later when I get to those pieces. But I also am in a group on Discord called Fandom Stitching Central. And one of the challenges this month was it was their version of Mania, which they called Spring Awakening. And it was, you had several options. One was, I think, and it was all around 16. One was to work on the same project for 16 days. One was to work on 16 different whips. And one was to start 16 new things. And I've only done Mania once before, and that was in 2020. And I still have a number of those projects still lingering, not because I don't like them, but just because I started a lot of things in 2020 and then I keep starting new things. And so I had resisted in the next years starting doing that kind of mass starts in a particular month. But I have so many projects that are somewhat kitted up. I don't want to say fully kitted because I use my master set of DMC, and sometimes I still need other things, and like even fancy flosses, and I wait till I'm ready to start before I purchase all of them. But I decided, let's go big or go home. And so I started 16 projects. And so some have you had to get at least a minimum of 100, and I got the minimum of 200. Some didn't get as much love as they probably should have, and some of them are actually quite embarrassing how much or how little I got done. But I'm going to go ahead and show them all to you. So with that, I'm just going to jump in. So, and these are not in, these are the order that they were sort of, I put, when I want to share things in videos, I just put them to the side. They're in the order they're stacked up there, which doesn't mean that's the order that I stitched them in. But the first one I want to show you, and I've seen a lot of people working on this recently. This was a market release. This is a sampler for Grace from Shaded Stitchery, and it's a historical inspired sampler. Grace was a black girl who was an indentured servant, and she was a girl. I mean, she was probably probably single digits, I think. I'd have to go back and look, but not a woman. Who worked for a seamstress who was one of the people who stitched the flag that flew over Fort McKinley and was the inspiration for the Star Spangled Banner. So this is not a reproduction sampler at all, but it is inspired by this girl and the stitches of the time, and she was a seamstress. So absolutely beautiful. And this is one that I did the day I started. I didn't have a lot of time to stitch, and so I didn't get very much done. Also, I know I started this one on May 15th simply because Denise from Black Ribbon Stitch Studio said, "Hey, I'm starting this on May 15th," and she just kind of put that out there in her Flosstube, and I said, "Love that one. I'm jumping on and I'm starting it." So I was able to pick up all of the floss when I went to an LNS, which I'll talk about at the end. So without further ado, I'm doing this on a 32 count even weave chocolate milk by Fabrics by Stephanie. And so here is my very, very sad start. But I already just am loving the color choices. I know this doesn't look like much, but it was actually a lot of fun to stitch. I mean, it was changing colors, but just the way that it came out, the way the colors flow. And then when I wanted something a little bit easier, I started working on the inner border. So again, not a huge start, but I'm very happy to have this in my rotation, and I look forward to continuing to work on it. Okay, and the next one was one where I had this like, I'm kitted up, I'm ready to go, and then I pulled it out and I'm like, I don't have any floss for this, and it calls for specialty flosses. And this is Bluebirds of Happiness from Cottage Garden Sampling. So this is part of the Songbird series from a few years ago. And I had fabric for it, and I had like none of the fancy flosses. So I didn't get a chance to pick these up, but I did have a few of the called for fancy flosses. Ugh, having a hard time speaking today. A few of the called for fancy floss, which are over dyed cottons, that I had in my stash. And so I started in this upper right hand corner because that is one of the colors I had. And I am doing this 2/2 on a 32 count even weave. This is called Peony from Fabrics by Stephanie. And so here's where I am. So just, easy, relatively easy stitch. That's all one color. I still need to go and pick up the more flosses for this. This one, I am changing the word. So each of these have a word, and I have decided to change some of the words, and I'm changing this happiness. So I very much support happiness, but 5 of her charts have words that are basically synonyms for happiness, and I wanted to have a variety of inspirational words because I think she has like happiness and merry and bliss and joy, and I can't remember what the 5th one is right now, but I just wanted something a little bit different. So I recharted myself, and so I'm going to change that to say honesty, because I think that is really important. And part of the reason why I picked this one to say honesty is I already had the H. Now, where the challenge of recharting is not the letters themselves. I have all the charts, and I pulled on all those letters, and honesty are in other charts. So I was able to get the font, but it is 2 things. One is obviously shorter than happiness, which that isn't a problem, but you can see that bluebird is actually standing on the 2 S's. So I've got to figure out how I want to sort of center this. Do I just want the bird floating in space, which is an option? It's not going to look weird if it's not standing on the word. Or do I want to find a way to make the Y so that the bluebird is sort of standing on like each prong of the Y? I have to, I have plenty of time to figure that one out. But at least I got the charting done for the word, and then I just have to worry about the spacing. And especially since I started in that upper right hand corner, it's not a big deal to it's not a big deal to sort of keep that at the end. I will probably leave the word in that second bird until I get there. And we do have eastern bluebirds right in my neighborhood. We have feeders. They don't come to our feeders for some reason, but I see them like 2 houses down. So I don't know if we're just not putting out the right bird seed, or they are happy where they are and they don't need to come over to our house. So they got food sources elsewhere. All right, so the next one I started. Okay, this is one that's like really, really sad, and I realize I don't have a cover photo for it. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. But this is from Sosna Designs, which is she's a very new designer. I've met her. She goes to a lot of the Queen City Stitch retreats, and so for the chatelaine retreat last year, she designed a pattern that was in the spirit of a chatelaine. And this is one that, this is like a 28 count linen. We got a kit for this. And I'm sorry, my needle minder is kind of falling apart here. And I really am sad that I don't have a cover photo for you. Because, I actually do. I take it all back. I have a cover photo. So here it is. So she's done it in the spirit of one of the tiles that chatelaine used to do. But this is inspired. This is water lily beaded tile, and it's inspired by Monet. And those little fishies, I think she does give an alternative, but they are stitched and intended to be 1/1. I think that if you wanted to do this, she has a way that if you want to do it 2/2, you can. but that's not how I wanted to do it. And now my needle minder is off. So literally all I did was that, which is two partial fishes. Two partial fish. Maybe I should say fishies, and that way I can be cutesy in plural. But anyhow, that is 1/1 stitching. I wanted to get that done because from what I've heard from other people who have stitched on this, it's much easier to try and get the fish done and then put the stuff around rather than trying to do the stuff and then do the fish. So we did get an electronic of that pattern, which I printed out. But of course, because it's the center motif, it's over a couple pages. So that made it a little bit challenging as well. I certainly could have screenshot it and got a good thing, but I started working off of what I had and it was working. It just, when I had a number of pages, I was stitching over. All right, the next piece I have to show you. Okay, this is Bella Filipina. Oh, no, I take that back. That is not Bella Filipina. That is cross stitching art. This is Azure Elegance. This is an absolute stunning designer. She does a lot. I mean, she's got more than Fancy Ladies, but she does a lot. But so, some of what, in addition to just the really, really beautiful ladies, some of what makes her stuff is the actual background stuff. So like, look at that little kitty there. She's got one where she's it's French, so there's an Eiffel Tower in the back, and then there's a poodle with a tutu. It's great. I don't have that one, but I saw a trunk show of hers last year, and I kind of regret not getting that one because the fact that it's playing in my mind, 9 months later, sort of shows me that it was one that I should have gotten. Stuck with me. All right, so this, I don't actually know what the fabric is. I think I had it. I had originally picked a different fabric for this and decided it wasn't the right color. And the fabric in the picture is like very, very, it's not just modeled, it's like multiple colors and not in the same family. So I wanted something that was a little, and I put a picture of this up on Facebook and it was like pinks and blues. And then someone said, or a lavender. I think it was Catherine, Counting My Stitches, who suggested that. And I thought, I think lavender is right. So I had this in my stash and the tag got separated. I'm feeling like it might be an Oak Crown Studio, but I could be wrong because I think, you can see there's a 32 on there, and I think Amy maybe does it that way, but I could be wrong. Anyhow, that doesn't really matter at this moment. It's a lavender fabric, and here, that is the needle minder. You don't need to see that. That is where I did. So I started in the bottom right-hand corner just because it was the easiest way to count. So really, really pretty. And I really wanted to start this one this month because I have another piece of haul that I will show you that sort of inspired me because I have a couple of these patterns and have never started one. And I think she is a wonderful, wonderful designer. Okay. Next one I have to show you. I've got so much stuff stacked around, and I stack it around first and then I put I'm filming off of my laptop, and I put my laptop in afterwards, so everything kind of gets mushed under the laptop. Okay, so the next one I have to show you. Where is the cover photo? There it is. Okay, so this is, and I believe it is pronounced pernice, which is the bird on top. So this is from Teresa Kogut. This is actually my first Teresa Kogut that I've ever done. And I went to a retreat a few years ago that she was a participant. And this chart has since been made available to everyone, but at the time it wasn't exclusive to the chart. So this is, and it was a kit. And so this is the kit fabric. It is 40 count, my first time on 40 count. So in addition to, I wanted, I did a lot of like charts. When I did my 16 starts, I wanted them to be different, and I wanted them to be things that, for whatever reason, I just hadn't gotten to. And so I've always wanted to try 40 count, and I've always wanted to do a Teresa Kogut. So this is actually 500 stitches, but it's 40 count, so it's small. I did a center start because it's not going to be super tight margins. It's probably going to be like 2.5 inches, but I just wanted to make sure. So I did a center start on that one. And 40 count wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. Obviously I use a magnifier, but maybe it's just the fabric, and it's not a hand. This is not a hand dyed, and so I think it may have just been easier to stitch on, because even though it's linen, it's just a little bit, it's the fibers are not swollen, and that I am doing 1/2. So, all right, and then the next one I have to show you. This is my Bella Filipina, and I have a ton of his charts, and I've never started one, so I decided, got it in your stash, gotta stitch them. So this is it. This is the Golden Voice. Ariel, I think it even has the word Ariel on the name Ariel on there. So obviously based off of a film and a Disney character. And love this fabric. This is 28 count linen from Bestitch Me Black Ice. And here is where I am. So I just started at the top. Somehow, again, I have a master set. I'm doing this in DMC. I didn't have, oh, sorry, I know what it is. This is where I talk about it. Things are partially kitted up. I didn't have this calls for Kreinik, which I'm fine. I know Kreinik is hard to get, but I'm fine if I can find a substitute with the Petite Treasure Braid. I actually prefer it. But somehow I had the right Kreinik, but the wrong weight. I think I had it in like, whatever. I always forget 8 versus 4, but I had it in the thicker one, and I really, for this fabric, needed to have it on the thinner one. So I need to get the right, and if I get it in Petite Treasure Braid, it's fine too. I need to get that so I can keep working on this, but it's lovely. And I will be picking this up next month, simply because Grand Stitchery has a designer of the month. I don't participate every month, but if I already have one of their charts either as a whip or in my collection, I do like to, it gives me an incentive to pull it out. So I would like to do that. All right, the next one is a dimensions kit. Your guess is as good as mine these days. What's actually happening with the company, it certainly was sold, and it's very hard to get the kits. Like, they used to have a dimension store on Amazon. They don't have that anymore. But someone said they're not actually going out of business. They just are doing something. Whatever that something is, I don't know. But this is Rocky Point. This is an older kit, so I had to spend some time sorting the flosses because there were 3 bundles, and somehow light blue, lavender, and light gray were all in the same bundle. So it was kind of like a little cross-eyed trying to sort them. But I did sort them and got it started. I think I sorted them one day and then said, I'm not starting this today by the time I was done sorting, and then I started it the next day. So again, dimensions, not very generous with their fabric. So that's where I am. I did a center start on this. So it actually started in the lighthouse itself, so it was just fun. Yeah, so this one's from 99. I actually got this one maybe a year or so ago from our friends of the library. They do have a craft section. It's not robust. I think most people, if they're donating crafts, probably go to a different place. But we do have a craft section, and they have this kit for $3.50, and it was a full kit with the fabric, all the flosses. It had not been opened, and so I'm like, I'll take it. So, all right, the next one is from Cute Patterns by Maria. This is Cats by the Door. Here's the picture. I love this so much for, basically, this reminds me of Istanbul. So I lived in Istanbul for 3 years, and there are a lot of feral cats in Istanbul. But one of the amazing things is that the people actually take really good care of them. So they, like, I just remember once watching this old guy walk down the road, and as he was walking, he was pulling stuff out of and he was carrying cat food in his pocket, and he would just see a cat and throw out a handful of dried cat food, some kibble for the kitties. And it was just that kind of, or like there'll be like I don't eat seafood, but like, so not a butcher, but whatever, a seafood stand, like, where they got the fresh fish on the ice and all of that. And the cats know they can walk in and they'll just give them a little piece of fish. That's what they do. I mean, so the cat's not considered a nuisance. It's, I don't know what the Turkish equivalent of a bodega cat is, but uh, so, and I once, before I actually lived in Istanbul, I did a trip there. And like the last night, I wanted a place that was near the airport, and so I was traveling with a friend of mine, and so we stayed at this um, more or less a B&B, and it kind of had a door like this with the steps going up, and they had a cat. And so this reminds me. So I'm spending more time talking about why I really wanted to start this than I actually am showing it, because there's not a lot to see. This, I did get into Pattern Keeper. It took a little bit of time. I had to enter the numbers, which, again, my first time doing that, and I am glad I took the time to do it. Part of this, again, learning new things. So you can see what I've done here, because basically this is, I started in the upper left-hand corner. So this is like part of the building, and then the pink stuff are some of the flowers. This is a very stiff Ada. I had it in my stash, and it was rolled up in a thing and kind of flattened, which is what those little wrinkles are. I probably should have ironed it before I started, but oh well, this is full coverage. So there is some backstitch on it, but my plan is to, as I get a section done, then go back to the printed version and take a look and just do it from there, but do the rest of it from Pattern Keeper. It also, because the way the pattern is set up, there are two. I ended up in Pattern Keeper. There's a version with backstitch, but not easy to follow, and a version without the backstitch. So when I'm doing it, I'm just focusing on half of it, but basically when it says 50%, that's when I'll be done. So, it's kind of like, woo, it says, I think I'm at 0.79% according to Pattern Keeper, which makes me at 1.58 if my math is right. So very exciting. It's nice when you do little smaller full coverages and they're in Pattern Keeper. So, I'm used to doing the ones that take forever, so have something that moves along that quickly. I'm pulling out multiples. All right. And the next new start I had was blue flower, and this is spring quail. So this was actually, this I think is readily available now. But I attended the retreat actually that had Teresa Kogut as one of the guest designers. In the past, that was done by the Quilter Station in Kansas City, or near Kansas City. They had a retreat, and the blue flower was there. And I ended up sitting at a table with two sisters and they were from Kansas City. They had attended the previous retreat, and this was the kit. And I didn't know that, and I just sort of said, yeah, I said, oh, the blue flower is one of my favorite designers. And because they were local, one of the sisters went home, and when she came back, she gifted it to me, and she said, I don't think I'm ever going to stitch this, and you were so excited about the blue flowers. So I was very happy. So this is kit fabric. It's a linen. It's 36 count. And look how, like, that modeling and stuff. And while a lot of kit fabrics include, like the one from Teresa Kogut, I'm being really careful, this is a full back quarter. So thank you, Janine. Very generous with the fabric that you included in your kit. Now, theoretically, I think she gives a cut this big because there's multiple things within spring quail, but I will take it. So what I started was just that, the flower up there. So very lovely stitch. I just love the way, both obviously with the wildlife, I love that kind of stuff, but also just the flow of her patterns are just done so nicely. Okay. Another new thing that I wanted to try, I have never done a Riola's kit before, and I think most of their kits are done with, they are cross stitch, counter cross stitch, but they are done with wool acrylic blends. And I wanted to try and see if I like that, because I know some people have very strong feelings, just that they don't like the feel of it. So I wanted to try it for myself. So this one is called My Beloved Bunnies. I have to say, when I first saw this, I saw a little girl holding an Easter bunny and then a little stuffed bunny there. I thought, oh, lovely spring piece. Then I started stitching it, and I'm like, wait a second. I was looking down here, at the pattern. And I'm like, that looks like a Christmas ornament. And then I looked and realized there's a present. This is, you know, obviously we don't see the top of the tree, but that's a tree. This is a Christmas piece where she gets a bunny for Christmas. Doesn't take away from it, but it just goes to show how sometimes like I can be so lasered focused on just one element in the pattern that I forget to like look at the whole thing and see what it is. I think especially because there's no red in this, it's all that, you know, the ornaments are green and gold and pink, that it doesn't stand out so much as a Christmas piece. So I'm going to say I did not hate working with the wool acrylic blend. It wasn't horrible. I personally thought it was better than working with CXC, and I know that's probably a big controversy. But it also wasn't, I would prefer a cotton or a silk or something. But it wasn't horrible. I would stitch more reolist. It wasn't something that would stop me from stitching it. So anyhow, here is where I am. So I can fold this so I can show you and see at the same time. So basically I did a center start on this. And so I started with that green, which is part of the tree, and then came up, and this is now the top of her head. Now she's sort of bent over like that, looking at the bunny. So it's not like the very top of her head. It's more, I don't know exactly where it is, but anyhow. And you do have to do some blended threads for this. I mean, you have to blend your colors, but it's not hard. So again, I would stitch realistic again. I'm glad I had a chance to try it. Obviously, I will keep stitching this one too. Okay, the next one is one that I am in for my alma mater. I am in a stitching group, and it's all kinds of stitching. It's cross stitch, needlepoint, knitting, crochet, anything that like is fiber and needle, basically. And someone posted just an image of this and said it was really lovely. And I don't know if it was this exact one, but it was close. And so she didn't know who the designer was. But I loved it so much that I had to go on a hunt on Etsy. And of course I found it. And so I believe the designer is called Cross Stitch Foxy. She has a number of these that are all very similar, that basically some of them are like dogs or cats or a dog and a cat. And it says, is this where we wait for mom? And the other kitty is saying, yep. Now I will change that to say, is this where we wait for mom and dad? Because my husband loves the cats as much as I do. And while my current kitties turn 10 years old next month, and they are doing very, very well, we have had cats that have passed away and crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And so I love this image. I've seen some beautiful Rainbow Bridge patterns, but this one is a relatively quick, and I love this one. So I am stitching this on Ada, and I know this must be something I picked up at a retreat. I think it's an 18 count, because it had a big chunk out of it. And I don't think I've stitched anything where I've had a big chunk like this out. So you can see that it's down there, but there's where I am. So I start on the bottom left just because it was the easiest place to count. This is using DMC. I'm doing 2/1, 18 count. And so and I was debating whether or not I needed to have the cats sitting on anything. And then I realized that's actually like their rainbow going into the sky. So I thought, okay, let the kitties have a little background there. So there's that one. Okay. Another new start. This is from Lindy Stitches. And a few years ago, well, I think in 2024, she did an endangered species club where every month you would get a pattern that she designed for an endangered species. So there's 6 of them, and I was in the club, and I started 0 of them. And basically what you got was the pattern, fancy floss, and then some other stuff in there. You had to get your own fabric. So these are Lear's macaws, I guess. There's 2 of them. And so I am doing this on 16 count Ada, and it's in the colorway pewter. And I'm trying to do them all on the same fabric. So I got the only thing like this one, I'm a little bit worried about whether or not those bills will show up very well. But if they don't, I'll just backstitch them or something. But here's where I am. Now I will say something, so not very much done, just a little bit of the sort of motifs around on the top. When I started this, or when I was getting the fabric for this, I got it from what is then Brick City and now is the Common Thread, which is a local needlework store in Ocala, about 45 minutes away from me. And someone I know from my hometown was there. It was Peter, who on Instagram is O for Pete's Sake, and he sometimes appears on with Finally a Farm Girl, Linda, on her Flosstubes. Anyhow, Peter knows I'd like to stitch big things. And so when he saw me getting these pieces of fabric cut, he's a wonderful, wonderful person, has a sense of humor, but he kind of looked at me and he said, "Are those for you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "But they're too small." And I just started laughing because he knows who I am and he knows my stitching. And I said, "Yeah, but it's, I sort of told him what I was working on. But I just thought it was funny that like, I never am getting fabric cuts that small. And that's, I think it's like a 12 by 12. Usually mine are like, big mama jambas. All right. So the next one I want to show you. So this one I got from Market as well. And Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, hosted a stitch along or start along, and we started on Memorial Day, which was Monday. This past Monday, and this is the Book Goddess from Tiny Modernist. Now, Beth has a Facebook group, Crafts and Books, so obviously she likes to craft and she likes to read, and I like to do both of those things as well. So Beth hosted it, and then I was working on it as well as Dawn enchanting stitching. I can't remember if it's enchanted stitching or enchanted or enchanting. I'll link her below. And yeah, so Dawn also started it. So it was interesting. So I'm changing the green. This is mostly 166, which is not my favorite shade of green. And I don't mind using it if it was just like a book or something, but it was this prominent in the pattern. And then also the fabric, where I did a last minute fabric substitution. I mean, I had some fabric pulled. I didn't like the color here. And then I pulled a different piece, but still didn't like the color and realized it was just the color and not the, color didn't go well in the fabric, but I think the issue was because I didn't like the color, I didn't really have any fabrics. Now, Dawn, interestingly enough, did pull a yellow fabric, and I think that this would look good on a yellow fabric, but she changed her greens as well. She just changed it. Different greens than I did, but she just wanted to do something different as well. So this is a 16 count Ada from Fabrics by Stephanie, and it is June Bug. And so I got a good little start on it. So there's where I am. I just started in the upper left, did some of the background. So you can see the greens. I think it's 501, 502, and then I wrote down what the third green is. I think it's like 3362 or 3363. But yeah. So, and of course it would be really helpful if I actually showed you the stitching and the correct way it goes, because that is the way it goes. No wonder why I spend my life confused. That's the way it goes. And the only reason why, with just looking at it, I knew there was a problem. This here, that looks like a little barbell, is actually like one of the books. It's on its side. So that's starting with one of the books. And it was just because I had thread left on my needle after doing those two flowers up there. So this will be a lot of fun to work on as well. The book, once again, The Book Goddess by Tiny Modernist. I'm still working through my new starts. Starting things is not my favorite part of the process, and so I think sometimes just saying, okay, you have to start a lot of things at once, while it does significantly increase your whip count, it also means that, okay, I've sort of bit the bullet and got the starting. And it's just because at that point, I'm still like able to easily question my fabric choices, and I am, trying to like just, what way do I orient the fabric, and am I going to have enough, and just all those things. Whereas once I've started it, like I've done it. So, all right. And the next one I have, a little bit tightly in here. And I still have it in the Q-snap because I think I'm going to get back to it soon. We'll see. Is actually a new acquisition this month for me. And this has got a mouthful of a name. It is Winter Snowflake Reading Haven, artwork by Rose Catherine Kahn, charted by Pain Free Crafts. Now, I did not intend to, like, I was thinking about once I finish Evening Romance, which I'll show you a little bit later. I was thinking, what do I want to have as my next focus piece? Because my focus piece each year has been one I wanted to finish. And I've started thinking maybe I don't want to do it that way. And I had another one, which is similar to this, also by Rose Catherine Kahn, that I thought maybe that will be my focus piece. But then I saw this and I'm like, this has got to be it. And the reason why, got my finger there near it. Hopefully it will focus. I don't have my glasses on, so it's also a little bit hard for me to see exactly when it's focused. But you can see there's a tortoiseshell kitty. And I have a tortoiseshell kitty. And I have never seen a tortoiseshell in a full coverage piece. Cat Alphabet doesn't have one. I don't even think the new shelf one from Amy Stewart, the Cat's Library Cats, or Cat Library. You know which one I'm talking about, from Amy Stewart, charted by Haid. I don't even think that has a tortoiseshell. I think it has a calico that's got similar markings, but a proper tortoiseshell, which is a total non-breed because it's just a domestic. Well, mine is a short hair, but it's just markings. It's like saying a black cat or a white cat or a tabby cat. It's not a breed. It's just the markings on the cat. Anyhow, like, there shouldn't have any white on them to be a tortoiseshell. Other than that, my attitude is if there's white, they tend to be more in the calico markings. That's my opinion. It's a controversial opinion. A lot of people don't agree. But anyhow, that kitty. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get close enough to show you. But two things. One, that cat has a look on its face like, what are you doing? And I get that look a lot from my kitty. And two, again, you really won't be able to see it. But you can see the cat, you can see its toe beans, which if you're an obsessed cat person like me, toe beans are a thing. And not only are there toe beans, they are accurate toe beans, because tortoiseshells often have different colored toe beans based on the marking of, like, it's wherever the pigmentation is in the fur, it kind of transfers similarly to the foot pads of the toe beans. So my kitty, her back paws are black. And so she has black toe beans back there. And her front paws are a mixture of sort of tan and black. And so she has a couple of what I call black-eyed peas. So they're sort of whitish toe beans with little black dots. And then some of them are a little bit pinker, so pinto toe beans. And this cat has different colored toe beans based on the fur. I mean, it's so well done. And so I'm like, I have to, the other one, I wasn't very far in it. And I'm like, I love that one, but I need something with a tortoiseshell because my other cat is a tabby. I have plenty of patterns of tabby cats. But this one, so now am I in love with the cats with wings? I don't even know what that's supposed to be. I don't care. I will stitch them. So anyhow, now that I've held up the pattern long enough, I'm going to show you my not very impressive stitching that I've done on this. That's where I am. I did a bottom left-hand start, basically because I want to work this from the bottom up so I can work towards that kitty. I could have started on the other side and gone up, but I just said, okay, just do it. And I'm thinking about making this my evening focus piece once I finish Evening Romance. If I do, and what I think I can get stitched on this, it will take me about 10 years to complete. This is, I think it's 463,000, so not my biggest piece, but a big piece. My cat is 10. That means it will be 8-9 years by the time it is done. She's still full of energy, but as much as I would love to say I'd love to get this done while she's still here, she probably won't be, but I at least want to get to that kitty and have that done. So that is my goal. So this needs to be done by the time I hit, let's put it this way, by the time I go on Medicare, which is 65 in the US. And that won't go in the bag, so we'll just deal with that one later. Okay, I have 2 more new starts, and this ties in to SPRINGO. For those of you who are unaware, SPRINGO is a game that is in the Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch Challenge. I'm having a hard time remembering the order of the words. I always do. But it basically, you take the, it's a bingo game. There's 35 squares, so 5 down and then 7 across SPRINGO, and you had to tie in a whip to each letter. You were allowed to duplicate for 2 of the letters, but you weren't allowed to like say, okay, I'm working on like an alphabet and everything has like an S and a P. You couldn't do that. So one of mine was a new start that I did for this. And I started this one, this is Oak Keeper from Fine Frog Stitching. And I started this one because Grand Stitchery Fine Frog Stitching is the designer of the month. So this one I still on the Q Snap because I plan to work on it a little bit more before I finish it. And this is just done on, I think it might even be a 16 count, I don't know. Scrap piece of Ada, I probably picked it up on a freebie table. So anyhow, it's coming along really nicely. And this was my O in SPRINGO. So coming along really nicely. For some reason, DMC 166, which I don't use that often, has appeared in a number of my patterns, and I somehow don't have any in my master set. So it's a little bit frustrating because I really wanted to work more on that leaf, and it's a lot of color on that leaf. So I will come back to it. All right, and then my last new start, which I also used for SPRINGO, and this one actually I got a bingo on this. So this is Miss Leopard from Nora Corbett. I just love the way this blue in it, and just the way that you've got the leopard, and then that's, you can see it sort of repeated in the wing. When I purchased this pattern at the Queen City Stitch Retreat last year. And when I was there, so Mindy, who is kind of the queen of everything Mirabilia, was vending, and so I bought the pattern from her. When I bought it, she said, you know, and she just sort of said, we were talking, and I think that, like, we think that pink would look really good, and I thought she was right. So I hopped on over to Outcrown Studios, who was also vending, and got this piece of fabric. It's a 28 count Lugana, and it's called Kitchen Sink, which basically what Amy does is she mixes she takes, like, whenever she's finished dyeing, but she still has dye, and she kind of mixes it and makes a new color. But it basically means you can't get that color. Like, there may be multiple pieces of that, but it's a one-off, and she's not going to be able to replicate it again. And so here's where I am. And so I did choose to do the skin 1/1. So there's probably over 900 stitches in this, even though it doesn't look like a huge amount. And I'm almost done with the skin. So she's got one arm like this. So I finished like her head and down here, most of this arm. And then she has her, which you can't see in my camera, she has her other arm sort of down. And I think, I have a number of actual Mirabilias in my rotation, and they're quite large. So I am amazed by, like, I sort of figure, like, when I finish, obviously doing it 1/1, it takes a little bit longer. But once I finish that part, like, it's just going to fly through, because so much of it is just blank space. So even when you get to, like, the pattern count, because given the sort of L shape of this. So, okay. And then that is it for my new starts. Now on SPRINGO, I did manage to get called to bingos. I finished everything on Miss Leopard, and that was an N because it was Nora Corbett. But this one, I did actually every call as it was called, or made it up pretty quickly. This one, I need to do this one though, because this one I'm missing one of the calls and it will give me a second bingo. So obviously the N was a column, and then I also managed to get a row. So this is the blue flower baby animals, and it's a P because of the polar bear. And this was a WIPGO call, so I really wanted to find a way to get this in there. And I will get a good stitching session on this. So I wanted to put in a little bit more. So that's where I am, and I did get some in on this. I already had the panthers done, but all of the stuff with the tree trunk got put in, some of these leaf clusters, and so but I'll keep working on this. I need to, if nothing else, I need to put in another 100 stitches, but I hope to get a lot more in, like obviously to get this panther so she's not floating in the air. So I will work on that, and also I still need to meet my WIPGO. I mean, WIPGO is, I kind of make up what my requirements are for WIPGO, but it certainly is to touch it, and I want to get a little bit more done on that before. All right, so that is it. Okay, so for things that you haven't seen a lot of, the next ones are ones that I show almost every month. So the next one I have, this is my oldest non-full coverage WIP. Started for Mania in 2020, so it's 6 years old. This is Stars Bright by Lindy Stitches. I am doing this on a 32 count linen. This was Stars Bright, so the S in Springo. And here is where I am. So over halfway now. What I did this time was I finished the words. I may have had a couple of words on the bottom there, but I finished all of the words. I then did, it's fighting with me today. I know I should have a board, but okay. So the words there, and then I certainly finished, I think I had part of this quilt block done, and then I certainly started this one here. The reason why I was so determined to get the words done was that is a Fancy Floss Concord, and I wanted to make sure I had enough of it because I was running a little low. There is more of it that's called for in this pattern, but it's in the quilt squares, so if I pull something else that's similar and do it, it's not going to be noticeable. Whereas obviously if the words suddenly ended up in different colors, it would be a little bit more noticeable. So I try and work on this one every month. I didn't get in because of everything else I was doing. I didn't get in nearly as much on this as I normally would have, but I'm happy I got some good progress on it. Okay, and then my next piece, which I'm very, very proud of how far I got on it. This is Summer Garden. This is from Chatelaine. That's what it would look like. It originally was a mystery stitch along, so the pattern itself doesn't have a cover photo, which is why I need to show you like that. And I was going gangbusters on this yesterday with Chatelaine Wednesday, and I really wanted to get the center mandala done, and I did. Obviously I still need to put the beads in. I will do that at the end. This I am doing as a stitch along, although I don't know how much other people in the group have been working on it. We're supposed, it's a very, there is like, hey, try and get this done this month. I'm well behind, but I think I'm still ahead of a lot of people. But anyhow, there's where I am. So this is a 28 count even weave from Oak Crown Studio in the colorway Vinca, Vinca. So there's where I am. So this month I had to finish. I think I had to, I did, because it was a Springo call. This was the G for Summer Garden. So I think so at the beginning of the month, I think I finished. There's a bunch of road stitches, and those sort of the dark blue in that circle. I had to finish those, and then I had to do just those light green and dark, anyhow, there were a bunch of rice stitches. It's sort of that dark green and then basically everything around here. And I'd never done rice stitches before. They were so much fun. So really enjoying working on this. Again, I try to work on it at least 3 days a month, but this month I was very focused on get all the specialty stitches done there, and then you can focus, and that way I can start moving to another section. I do have a couple of questions. The instructions are not the clearest. So I'm going to the Chatelaine retreat in July, and I'll talk to some people there to see if they can explain some things to me, because especially like where I'm not understanding is like how to exactly place some of the, like they're not normal eyelets, and I don't want to put them in and pull it out after I've stretched a hole somewhere that's not supposed to be there. So, all right. And the last piece I have to show you, which is my monthly focus, and I managed to get 4,000 stitches in this, and the cover page is eluding me. Maybe if I just pull it out, it'll be easier to find things, or not. All right, well, I'm not going to keep, oh, here it is. As soon as we say I'm not going to do this anymore, I find it. All right, so this is Evening Romance, charted by Artisy. Artwork by Mark Keeley, this beautiful evening scene. This is a full coverage. It is a smaller full coverage relative to other full coverages. It's about 63 or 64,000 stitches. I'm over 70% done now. So here is the whole thing. And what I worked on this time was this page down here. So a lot of background. I sort of held off and I said, okay, I'm going to do the cardinal at the end. And I didn't quite finish the cardinal as a result. But that's where I am. And so basically once I get that cardinal done, it's basically just going to be like water and snow and stuff down there. But I'm very excited with the progress I made, and I think this is looking great. Just love the way the sunlight is coming through and all of that. So very excited. And I'll get back to this in June. All right, so what are my June's plans? So my goal is to keep working on my focus pieces that I showed you, which is Star is Bright, Summer Garden, and Evening Romance. And also meant to Evening Romance I used for 2 letters. R for romance, and then I because of the icy water. And I know that was stretching it, but it's okay. Really all Carolyn and Robin care is that you're stitching. Less concerned about, have you passed the test to match this perfectly. So anyhow, my focuses are Evening Romance. Keep working on that. To do Summer Garden, my chatelaine. To do Stars Bright. I did not pull out Queen of Freedom this month. I kind of knew that was going to happen with all my new starts, so I would like to pull that out again in June. And also some of my smalls. I don't know if I will have a new start in June. If I do, it will probably be for a smalls exchange. We'll see how I feel how I feel about it. I do have some charts to show you. So I did go to Las Vegas, and I'll talk a little bit about that trip at the very end. But I picked up most of what I got from Stitcher's Paradise was threads. I think they've got such a wonderful thread collection there, and especially like with things that are a little bit hard to find in other places, they have a lot of that, as well as with beads. So that's what I concentrate when I go there. But I did pick up a couple of charts. One, I think this was a market release. This is Pink Wren from Jet X Stitch. I love her patterns. The reason why I think it's a market release is that's when I asked her if she had anything by Jet X Stitch. That's where she found it, and she didn't have anything else. That store tends to be more sampler and memorabilia than anything else. I mean, they have lots of other stuff, but that's kind of like if you're looking for like really old memorabilias that are still in print, but maybe just not sold in your local store, they have a lot of those. But I absolutely love some of the things that I've seen coming out from Jet X Stitch, so I wanted to get one to try. So that's one. And then the second thing I got, because I saw this and absolutely loved it, and this is also from Market, and this was one of the Platitudes. This is one is from Fox and Rabbit. And I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read what the one plate that I really want to do says. It says, emotionally attached to fictional characters. As a reader, absolutely. I mean, the other one says, please don't bother me, I have enough on my plate. Which I think is cute, but it's the one with the book that I mean, I like the design, but also the phrase, and it should be a relatively quick stitch. So I picked those two up. I also am on auto ship from Grand Stitchery for the Year in the Woods 2. So this is the hedgehog. And they sent me the specialty flosses. And then I won a giveaway from Beth the Steadfast Stitcher. So this is Plum Street Samplers, This Happy Morning. And it's, you know, it's one of those, I mean, I love the way the image looks. And then I was reading it. I realized it's a hymn from a Christmas song. And so I have it on CD with Celine Dion singing it. So now I've been like having this Christmas song in my head, but it's a lovely, lovely song. I believe it's called This Happy Morning, or Oh Come Let Us Adore Him. I don't know. Anyhow, I have it in my head. All right. So, and then the last thing I have to show you, this is Gloria from Cross Stitching Art. So I started a piece by her, and this is, one of the reasons why I wanted to start this, I saw this and I loved it. I don't think I want to do it on this dark gray fabric, but it's just a challenge of what do I want to do it on. And I have a piece of what I think the color I want, but it's not the count I want. Because I think I really want to do this on Lugana or Even Weave at least. And that was in an Aida. And so I think it's sort of not a bright turquoise, but it has to be a dark enough blue so that that white will pop, but I don't want something that's so bright that it will start to look like Easter eggish if you have like bright turquoise with the red and the blue. So I'm trying to find something in between, and it's the fabrics by Stephanie. So I hopefully will see her at the retreat in September with Stitching in the Wild, and she will be there, and hopefully I'll be able to pick up a piece from her then, if I can't get it before then. And so I did get the Krynic that came with it. I also got the bead pack, but that's elsewhere. All right, so that is all of my stitching content. Let me talk to you a little bit about what I read and watched this month. So I read quite a few good books this month, but the one that I want to talk to you about, I want to get a picture up because I read it on my Kindle. But this is Score from Kennedy Ryan. And so this is the second in a series, but you don't need to read the first one to understand the book. And Kennedy Ryan is a Black romance author, and she is known for giving very emotionally wrought romances, and not like, oh my God, I love him so much, but he cheated on me. Like, not that kind of, but like people who themselves personally, it has nothing to do with romance, are just going through it. And in this case, it's a content warning, but so you can read about it. And so I do read those, not because anything like gets me. I mean, things upset me, but reading about them don't necessarily upset me. But I knew going into this, and all I will say is there's a character which I knew going into it, she starts to spiral. And and I knew beforehand why she was going to spiral, but it's hard to be in someone's mind when they are going through it like that, and you know that they think they're making rational decisions, but they're blowing up their life, and blowing up relationships, not just romantic relationships, but with their family, and they're affecting their career and all this kind of stuff. Although I think in that case she was actually a student, but she's messing up. She's already had a problem at one college, and now she's at a different college, and she's messing all of that up too. She's making poor decisions, and she's spiraling. And it was hard to read, but I did really enjoy it. It was a 5-star read for me. And the basic premise is that it's about it's a second chance romance. So it's about a couple in college, and basically they have a really intense relationship, and because she starts to spiral, it ends. And he knows her behavior, but he doesn't know anything about what caused her behavior. And then, I don't know, a decade later, 15 years later, they meet again, and she she's a screenwriter, and she's esteemed in her field, and he is a musician, and he is scoring the film, hence the name Score. And it's basically they meet again, and they understand they have to work with each other. Um, but of course, like, the passion is still there. And so how do they navigate and sort of talk about very personal things about how their relationship sort of blew up? Beautiful, beautiful book. Highly, highly recommend it. I love everything I've read by Kennedy Ryan, but this, I think, is one of my favorites by her. All right, what have I been watching? Two things I want to talk about. One, I actually just finished The Testaments this week. That is based on Margaret Atwood's book, The Testaments. I haven't read that, so I don't know. I certainly know The Handmaid's Tale, which I had read several times. The limited series, the first year, pretty much mirrored the book, and then it kind of, obviously with many, many seasons, stopped sticking to the book. But I don't know about The Testaments, how closely at least the first season matched the book. I greatly enjoyed it. They have a lot of young actors in it who are brilliant. I mean, the older characters are good too. But, I'm always amazed by someone who is that young and that poised. I mean, they're playing teenagers, but I think they're all in their early to mid 20s, that are just able to really channel and understand what they're doing and able to put that into their characters. Beautiful, beautiful acting. I think it's a critical thing to understand. Obviously, Margaret Atwood meant this kind of as a warning. She wrote The Handmaid's Tale in the 80s, and Testaments came out, I don't remember, late. I don't know, everything in my life is it pre or post pandemic, and around that time, it may have been a little bit before the pandemic, a little bit after the pandemic. I don't know. Um, but it basically is moving on, and it's now about 15 years after The Handmaid's Tale was set, and there's a school for the privileged girls, of the children of the commanders, and they're about to become of marrying age. And just, how on the one hand, they're very privileged and they live a very comfortable life, but on the other hand, they don't know how to read. They don't know how to, that basically all this training is teaching them how to be a good wife, and they're all getting married. They're like 16, 17, and they're all getting married off to guys who are at least in their 40s, and sort of, this repressed society. Done very well. Highly, highly recommend it. The other thing that I watched this month as well was Margot's Got Money Troubles, also based on a book which I have not read. It's got Elle Fanning in it, but also then like Michelle Pfeiffer and a few other actors that are well known. Nicole Kidman makes um, a little appearance, a little cameo. Greg Kinnear, but it's basically about a 19-year-old who is the daughter of a WWE wrestler and a Hooters waitress. And it was the result of an affair, so basically raised by a single mom. And she is now 19 herself and finds herself pregnant. And how is she going to support herself? And so it's sort of, it's asking a lot of hard questions about what is appropriate. So she's, not doing anything illegal, but, how is she going to be able to support herself in a way? She lives in Southern California, it's expensive, but just delves into a lot of really good questions. And I think you can hear by the caliber of actors that it is a compelling story, even if you don't agree with some of the decisions and the way that the author has taken it. I think it's a realistic question about what is an appropriate way to make money. And if you choose to do it that way, do you then become, does that make you an irresponsible parent? Anyhow, that's what I've been watching and reading. A little bit of the life stuff just here at the very end. So I mentioned that I went to Las Vegas. My husband and I really, really wanted to go see No Doubt. I've never seen them in concert before, and they were obviously an iconic band, like in the late 80s into the 90s, and Gwen Stefani. I had heard that, I don't know if it was the drummer or the bassist, actually is starting to develop Parkinson's. So this may be one of their last concert sort of show tours, because obviously he will, if it's true that he has Parkinson's, obviously it will advance to the point where he can't play his instrument as well as he used to. Gwen Stefani is my age, and oh my gosh, the way that she was able to move and engage the crowd, I'm like, yeah, I would like after like 2 minutes, I would have been like panting for breath on the ground. Um, she just had so much energy and all of that, and it was a lot of fun to see it. It was the Sphere, so it just the Sphere. It's basically like it's not three. Let's say it's 180, but up, down. They actually like in the seats, you're sitting in them, and you can like part of it they were making like you're on a roller coaster and you feel like the seats vibrate. I mean, I think like at Disney World or Epcot, they used to do that too. But it's that whole sort of visual that you get. And that's just one part, but like just the images, it was a lot of fun. And we're really glad that we went. We also saw something called BattleBots, which is basically robots that fight each other, which is a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. It is on YouTube if you want to see what I'm talking about. Also, an episode of Big Bang where they have their robots go at each other, except these robots were bigger. No people are ever harmed. It's meant, a lot of it is meant to engage younger people in engineering and that. So they, while I was there was a big push to like get kids on camera and say stuff, I mean, like in the nicest way possible, just be like, go robots or whatever. Like that was the idea behind it. But the idea is to get them, thinking about engineering and how do you build things and stuff. And I think that is a worthy cause. Other than that, not too much is going on with like stitching and reading and just enjoying myself. I will say one thing I got to do this month also. Carol Claire Burke, who is the author of Yesteryear, which is a book that has been optioned by Anne Hathaway to make a movie, which is about a trad wife who suddenly wakes up and finds herself in the middle of the 19th century. And so, and that sort of, is this really her life versus is this the life that she is portraying, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or wherever she's doing it. So anyhow, I haven't even read the book yet, but she was coming to town at my local indie bookstore. So I had a chance to meet her. She gave us a talk and, answer questions and stuff. And and I had planned to read the book before I went, but then like I knew I could get a signed book. So rather than getting it from the library, I said, I'm just going to wait. And she was very good not to have any spoilers about what happened and why and stuff. So I think it'll be a very interesting read. So that was kind of it. Other than that, my usual, it's late May. It's already really hot out there. We're finally getting rain. We were in a severe drought. We're now getting rain. So our typical thunderstorms, which is good because we really, really need it. So with that, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to be back towards the end of June.